Welcome to Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentesana. On this show, we help busy moms and entrepreneurs find more passion and purpose in their daily lives through inspiring stories and interviews. Welcome back, everyone, to Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentesana. Today on the show, we have an incredible guest. Natalie Gardner is co-founder of Dr. Doug's Balms, an incredible skincare product line. I have used her products myself. I have given them to clients. Everybody is in love with them, and I can't wait for you guys to hear all about it. She's also got an incredible background in medical sales and biotech, and she has so much wisdom and knowledge to share with you all today. So I can't wait to dive into this conversation. Thank you for being here, Natalie.
Thanks for having me, Jen. This is exciting.
It's very exciting. Well, ever since I met you, back in April in Dallas, I have just been so excited about learning all that you do. You were generous enough to donate some products for my retreat to all the guests at my retreat, and they all fell in love with them. We were all hanging out throughout the day. Everybody go, "Oh, where's my Dr. Doug's? I got to grab my lip balm," or whatever. So it was just a special thing to be able to add to the gift bags for my retreat. And I mean, Amberly has talked so highly about you and your products and what a difference they've made in her life. So I was just inspired to have you on. But before we talk more about Dr. Doug's, I'd love for you to dive in a little bit to your story and kind of how you went from, medical sales after college to, the biotech world, and then diving into launching a product with your spouse who I guess wasn't your partner at the time. And then you got married after the fact. So I can't wait to hear about that too. But why don't you take us a little bit back to how you got started?
Sure, absolutely. But first, let me just say thank you so much for that feedback. That means the world to us, and that's why we do it. When Doug started making this, well, I'll get into that story, but the reviews that we get, the feedback like you're sharing right here, that is the why behind the whole company. So that means the world to us. So thank you. So listen, I always knew I wanted to have my own business, but I had no idea what it was going to be. When I was growing up, I grew up with my single mom and my sister. And all I knew is that I had some kind of entrepreneur spirit, but I didn't know what that was. I watched my mom, and she was in sales for all of her career. And I actually said that I didn't want to do that. She worked so hard. She was gone a lot. I saw her hustling, and she did so much for us, but at the same time, I just knew that wasn't for me. And funny how things turn around, right?
Yeah.
But so even in college, I knew I loved marketing. I loved management. So I was involved in business, but I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I did different interviews, and I ended up working at United Airlines corporate headquarters right out of college. So I did some revenue management there. So what does that mean? It's not as numbers driven as you'd think, but how many seats are we going to sell for what price on different flights? And I went into HR at United. When I first started there were 5 of us. Toward the end, there was just me. But what I learned there is that what I loved to do was be able to see a problem, find a solution, and bring those two things together. And so I did some recruiting for United, and the best feeling was when I could find that perfect candidate for the organization there and make them that offer. And really, it was a hard time for the company. It was a hard time for United. I didn't realize what I was doing was selling them on the company, right? Selling that candidate, as well as selling that candidate to the hiring manager. So we're different. You could look at it in different ways. But as things kind of went on, I knew that there was something else that I was meant to do. And I got approached by somebody in pharma. I'm like, oh no, I am never doing sales. But the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, I'll talk to them. And it turns out it was the right thing for me for quite a while. I ended up taking the plunge, going into a sales territory, and being able to educate people on a disease state and a product that I really believed in that really was making a difference for people. So I went on and did that throughout my career. I was really picky about what I chose because for me, again, I'm not I'm not that hard salesperson. I need to be able to believe in it, have passion for it, know that it can really truly help someone, and then I can educate all day long. And if it's the right thing, it's the right thing, and if it's not, that's okay too. So that was, I swear that's how I was so successful in that role for many, many years. And
That is, I got to interrupt you for one
yeah,
second. And
please.
I love how you're talking about that because I was in sales for 15 years myself in the media business. And I was oftentimes not a very good salesperson because I wasn't willing to sell people something I didn't believe in. And if the clients would come to me and say, well, I've got $5,000. Can you give me, a week of advertising? And I was like, look, you might as well just write me a $5,000 check because it's not going to do you any good. I'd rather you use that $5,000 in another way. That's what made me so authentic and genuine, but not very good at my job because I was actually, I couldn't justify taking their last $5,000. And when you believe in something, sales is easy, right? I mean, that's the thing is like, as long as you were selling a product that you believed in that was making a difference in people's lives. And it's like what you said about being at United, you were helping people and that's what gave you love for your job, even though you were selling the people on the company, you were giving them an opportunity and that's what gave you joy out of the job. And so your authenticity just kind of carried throughout your sales career, which is ultimately what everybody should be in life as a salesperson is authentic, right? You would
You
think.
would think so. You would think so, but I think of sales as this, you have to buy this. You have to no matter what. But to your point, I mean, you probably built a better relationship by saying no to that person who wanted to spend that 5,000 and you just knew it wasn't the right thing to do and could go back to them anytime. But I mean the relationships that you build and in doing the right thing, there's just nothing like them.
100%. And that creates loyalty and trust and longevity and
Mhm.
connection beyond just the transaction,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's probably what makes you so good at what you do now with your business. So tell us a little bit about Dr. Doug's, how it got started. How did you transition from medical sales to Dr. Doug's? That's my first question.
Well, that didn't happen right away. So,
Okay.
I Doug and I were friends for quite a while before the business started, but he started doing what I call crazy races because I'm not going to do 100 miles in the mountains. I think it's good crazy, but it's not my crazy. Uh, and and so he started creating this product because he had to carry everything on his back, right? And so there's lots of good products on the market that do different things like prevent blisters and chafing, to heal your skin, whatever he may need out there. He just wanted one instead of carrying a bunch of things on his back. So he had always compounded things for his patients in the office. He's a neurologist. He's a practicing neurologist, and so he just started making stuff in his hotel room. And I mean, the story is it starts from there, but then these crazy people, they start to become a family around the country. And before he knew it, everyone was asking, wherever he would go, they would be asking, "Did you bring that miracle stuff? Where's your stuff? Your stuff." And so I remember him telling me that story one day, and I just looked across the table at him. I'm like, you really need to sell this stuff. And he looks back at me and he's like, I'm a neurologist, right? I have no idea how I would not have any idea on how to even start, not to mention do that. He's like, I can make it. I can do the R&D. I can be the chemist. I can do all of that part. And I love all that part. But do you want to do that? The rest of it? And so here I am. I always knew I'm like, oh, so this is that entrepreneur piece of my life that I knew was going to be here someday, and I just didn't know what it was. But I said yes almost immediately. We had some people test it, including my sister, who's a dermatologist. She saw it working pretty quickly in her patients, everything from itchy, dry skin to eczema, and other dermatitises, and really having an incredibly good effect. And the fact that it's just 7 organic ingredients, I mean, to me, I still sometimes when I hear people's feedback and how simple the products really are, it just amazes me how well they work. So why are we putting all this other stuff onto our skin, and we know it absorbs into our skin and into our, so why are we doing that if we can go back to nature and find something that truly works? So
That is
that's where we
amazing.
started.
Wow. I mean, it seems so simple, right? And I think this is the things that are probably the most successful were just came from a simple idea, right?
Yes.
And a need. And there was a need there, and he created a solution to that need. And then, from there there was demand because he knew all these people. And then here you are, the perfect person in the moment to say, hey, I'll take on this side of it, which happens to be my background. And I have done medical sales. So now you're just stepping into this role. So it seemed, I love hearing these stories because I always am a believer that the universe kind of unfolds a path for you naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe what you think or you thought you were supposed to be doing when you grew up looked a certain way. And then as you got there, you didn't really think, oh, well, this isn't where I saw myself. But maybe in some ways it is, right? That there was something innately in you always to be doing this. You just didn't know how it was going to be packaged.
You know what? That's a great way to summarize it. It really is.
Yeah.
I,
So
I
very cool. And you obviously had all the experience to go out. And I mean, I'm sure you had to start from the ground up when it came to getting out there and marketing the product.
Well, absolutely. And it really just started as a side gig. I mean, I didn't know that it was going to grow like it has. I had really had no idea. I just knew that I believed in it. It was a great product. Let's get it out there and offer it to people. But soon after, with the development of really our 3 bestsellers, I mean, it was pretty clear. It was pretty clear what needed to happen in order for it to grow. So for many years as a side gig, it was really word of mouth. I mean, that's how it spread. That's how people tried it. That's where people would call me and say, hey, can I carry this in my store? Or will you make me my own? And, I remember getting a call from Tracy Anderson one day and saying, hey, would you make me my own? I love this mag balm. She had been using it for years and years. And, a couple years, I guess it wasn't, the company wasn't that old at the time, but she loved it so much that she wanted one that she could sell to her audience as well. So we ended up creating a collaboration product with her.
Cool. So like
And
private label for her.
yeah.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah. So, that's gone really well. We're actually working on a whole upgrade to it right now, for more of a luxury line. And, with with the Dr. Doug's part, or Dr. Doug's line, I mean, we are really, keeping it. Well, everything we make is super natural. I mean, it's all natural. We're not putting any preservatives, nothing that could, everything that's been used for years and years, and the benefits are really showing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I tend to have really dry, itchy skin, especially this time of year. As we're talking, I'm itching my arms going, I got to go get my Dr. Doug's after this conversation because I really need it. But I noticed it makes a huge difference. And also which is the balm that you use for sore muscles or like when you're kind of achy, and that one's really amazing too.
Yeah, so there's 2 actually. So there's a magnesium balm, and we're
Yes,
all
that's the one.
deficient in magnesium. So that's the one that probably took him the longest to make. As a neurologist, he first made that one for some of his patients that wanted natural relief from headaches and migraines, as well as restless leg or neuropathy. So he put so much time and energy into that giving it the most magnesium chloride is the best one to absorb in topically. So he worked so hard to make the best product that would absorb in well, not be gritty because it's a salt, right? It's a chloride. And then also that it wouldn't burn. I don't know if you've used that magnesium that you directly spray on the skin, but oh my gosh, the first time I used it, like the pins and needles would not go away. So I will not do that again.
I
We
won't
didn't
be
want
trying that. No, I'll
we
just
didn't want
stick
that.
with my Dr. Doug's. Thank you.
Yeah. So magnesium helps with muscle and nerve pain. And then he had plantar fasciitis one year, and he was out on a run. He didn't want to stop running. He knows this, what will happen he's always been a runner, so he didn't want to have to stop running. And he tells the story of how he just started Googling arnica because he had been researching arnica. He's like, no, this is it. I cannot not be able to run. So we're going to create this, and we're going to create it now. So he first made it for himself for his plantar fasciitis, but he added arnica montana. So our recovery balm has both arnica and magnesium. So it helps both with the muscle and nerve side, but also the inflammation and joint pain side. And it's just made such a huge difference. Even my boys, when they were growing up, when we were still doing some testing, I mean, the growing pains, the relief
Yeah.
from growing pains was just, I mean, it's
That's
pretty
so good
remarkable.
that you bring that up because I'm a mom of boys too. And for boys, for growing pains, it's really bad. I have a daughter too, and I don't remember her she's 25 now, and I don't remember her having the growing pains that my boys do. Especially my 15-year-old. I think he's about to go through a growth spurt, but he's also an athlete, and
Mhm.
he's a football player and a baseball player. And I mean, 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, practices, beating up their bodies constantly. And it is like, I didn't even think about, I'm going to start using this on him as well, because he complains about a lot of aches and pains. So I didn't even think about the kids. Of course, it's not like all of the adult problems we think of, and we think, oh, kids can tough it out. But really, this is a very natural, healthy solution to use on your kids too.
It absolutely is. And it does. It gives I mean, I'll let you judge it because I hate to say this, but so many people, I mean, it really is almost immediate response.
It's awesome.
And how is that, right? But
Yeah.
the key
Because
is
it's natural and it's
right.
not diluted with a bunch of other stuff in it, right?
And we're not waiting for it to kick in. Like they call arnica nature's Motrin, but you're not waiting for it to process through your system, and who knows where it's going to affect
going.
first or help. Yeah. So
Exactly.
this is
Wow.
targeted right to the area, and really gives a lot of relief. So
Okay. So I have to dive into the good, juicy stuff around here. So when you started at Dr. Doug's, you and Doug were just friends.
we were.
So what happened?
I mean, it's funny because it just was kind of a slow thing. I mean, I never would have imagined. And we just got closer as we built the business. And over COVID, I guess we were like not seeing many other people. And I mean, that's all I have to say. I mean, and I really got to know him better. I think we got to know each other better from every aspect really in life. And I guess it was meant to be.
Yeah. Well,
I would not have imagined.
yeah. I mean, it's funny how life brings you to the people that end up being in your circle, whether it's your spouse or very close friends. Like when you're a kid, you kind of naturally just evolve these relationships that become what they are. But then when you're an adult, you kind of get to choose those, and who you're presented at that time in your life is very interesting. So I didn't realize that it was during COVID that you kind of started to realize you were more romantically involved. I work with my husband too. I have for over 12 years now. We launched a restaurant business together that I've told our listeners about before. But there have been definitely ups and downs, and you see the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh yeah.
When you work with someone. And so not everybody can do it. And a lot of people that I talk to are like, I don't know how you worked with your husband. I can never work with my husband. He needs to leave the house every day. I got to have my thing. And I definitely have those moments, but our relationship has evolved to a point where I don't know what we can't handle at this point. I mean, never say never, but I feel like we've been through COVID. We've survived almost bankruptcy. We've gone through, openings and restaurant closings and difficult times and financial and all the stuff. And it teaches you resilience, not in just business, but in a marriage. And if you can maintain the relationship and keep that special and still work together, it's a really amazing thing.
And it takes some patience, right?
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Appreciation of each other. And But you're right. I mean, that's great to hear about your relationship too. Like, yeah, you can get through anything, right?
Yeah, you do. You do kind of get to a place. I mean, never say never. I never like to say, oh, we've been through everything hard that we could possibly, because that's obviously isn't the case, but we've been through a lot. And I think when you run a business together, like you and Doug, you're learning about each other in a different way every single day. There's some new challenge being thrown at you that neither of you may have thought of before or had to deal with before. And so you're kind of just, adapting, constantly evolving all the time to manage those situations and keep your relationship intact and all of those things. So kudos to you. It's
And to
definitely,
you.
yeah, thank you. It's definitely rewarding, but it's also super, super hard. So, all right. So with a little bit of time that we have left, I would love to hear more about like, where can our audience find you? Where can they find your products? How can we support you? All those good things.
Absolutely. Well, it's pretty easy. drdougs.com. So drdougs.com. Dr. Doug's Balms on social channels. And, if anyone's interested in carrying it, we really haven't had the bandwidth to get out yet and market to specific retailers or physicians or whoever it may be, spas, but we've had them come to us. So if anyone who's listening is interested in carrying it, just reach out directly. But otherwise, the website, we're going to have some really great new launches, and just to enhance what we already have and our, those three best sellers. The Miracle Balm, that's what you want to use for dry skin, by the way. I use it neck down every single day. I've tried everything. It's the only thing that's ever worked for me, shower to shower. So just a side note. But then the magnesium balm and the recovery balm. Those everything really revolves around, because those are the ones that are really making a huge impact for people.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Well, we'll have all that info in the show notes so everyone can follow you and and I definitely have several clients and a couple. My dermatologist that I'm going to see next month, I'm definitely going to bring your products in when I go to see her, because I think it's the perfect fit for her. She's all about all natural and, skincare from the inside out and the outside in, and only using, healthy, organic or safe ingredients. So definitely be introducing that to them. I have one more question for you, for our listeners out there who are maybe looking to make a career shift, or like you, they've had this one long career, but they've always imagined themselves as an entrepreneur and they just don't know where to start. For you kind of, it landed in your lap because Doug kind of presented you with this opportunity. But what would you say to someone who was looking to make a career shift and wanted to just dive into becoming an entrepreneur? What would be your biggest advice?
My biggest advice is to have an end game, right? Know what your end game is. Know what that looks like exiting your current career. What needs to happen there before you really just jump in with everything forward, right? And that's not saying not to do it, and I'm not saying even pause. It doesn't have to be perfect, but still have a good idea of, what do you really want in life? What do you want in your career? And make sure that you ask yourself that with every yes or no that you say to different opportunities. Is it taking me closer? And if it's not, you may want to step back and evaluate, because it's too easy to get caught up in I think it's too easy to get caught up with all the bright and shiny objects out there that seem to be great, but really have an idea of what matters the most to you, what you want that end game to be, and then make those decisions in that direction, instead of the little things that will distract you and pull you back.
Wow, that's such good advice. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say start with the end in mind, in the sense of when you're starting your entrepreneurship journey, but you're really talking about the end of the previous path and into a new path. Like, make sure that you're making that cut and why before you jump into something. And for me, the why is absolutely imperative. Like I always say, know your why. Okay, you have all these goals, right? Like I have people in my workshops and my retreats write out goals. And then the next thing I ask them is, why do you want that? what is that going to do for you?
Right. And where
Right?
is it
How is it
taking
going
you?
to Yeah, exactly. How is it going to change your life? How is it going to, what is what is really what you want out of that goal? Because the goal is just the thing, right? What is it that comes from achieving that goal? And I think that's so important to know before you dive into something.
And really identify, I mean, your why, what at the same time is that going to fulfill you? Like, do you get fulfillment from that? Or is it just to say you did it, right? Because I mean, even with all the money in the world, is that really going to get you to that place where you're fulfilled?
Right. And most times you look at all these people, and it doesn't matter, the billionaires, the entrepreneurs have gone to do it all. At the end of the day, that was never their why, right? Like they always had, yes, the money is nice and it comes along with everything and they have more resources and they can do more things. But ultimately their goal is to change the world or to, provide a product that changes people's lives or whatever it is. It's about attaching yourself to that purpose part of it. So I love that it's carried you through from your sales career all the way through your sales career, all the way up to Dr. Doug's. You're always staying true to who you are. And I think that is probably the most important thing. And the thing that I've seen coming out of you through this process is staying true to who you are and what your product is and what you offer.
Thank you, Jen. That means the world to me. We get so pulled in different directions as entrepreneurs and overwhelmed at times, right? But thank you for seeing that in me.
Of course, absolutely. And I want all of our listeners to hear that loud and clear, that just stay true to who you are and what you're about, what your purpose is, your why, and the rest will figure itself out. That's
Take
always
that
my
passion
belief.
to the purpose.
That's right, girl. Passion. That's where passion meets purpose. That's where we are. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Natalie. This has been an amazing conversation. I can't wait to continue through our conversations going forward. And we'll definitely have you back on the show, maybe in another 6 months or a year, and hear all about all the amazing new, retail opportunities you have and hear all the success of Dr. Doug's. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Can't wait. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Okay. Talk to you soon. Thank you again for listening to Where Passion Meets Purpose. If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe and download it so you don't miss an episode every single week. And if you think you have a friend who might benefit from listening, please share it with them as well. If you'd like to contact me, you can always reach me through email on my website at jenmentesana.com and my social media, Jen_Mentesana. And you can DM me there and I'll always respond, and we can connect about topics on the show or anything else you'd like to discuss. Thanks again for tuning in.